Hello and welcome to Inside Salem. I'm your host, Mike Allen. On this show, we try to give behind-the-scenes information about what's happening here in Salem and in the area. For that reason, we have a panel of people who have been around a bit in terms of what's happening in Salem. We have Salem political analyst, Teasie Riley-Goggin.
Thank you. Nice being here, Mike.
We have former Councilor at Large, Dominguez.
Thank you, Mike. I'm glad to be here.
Former school committee member, former Councilor at Large, and current planning board member, Tom Furey. And Attorney Jim Fleming, former Ward 6 city councilor and former school committee member.
Good to be here,
Welcome
Mike.
all. And licensing board, right?
Licensing board, appeals board.
Yeah.
All of the
Been
board.
around. And one of the original
Charter
panel members
Commission.
of the show.
Yeah.
Welcome all. Hope you all had a happy and safe holidays, and welcome into the new year.
Oh, I just want to say to your wife, Maria, the cookies were great, Maria. Great assortment. And they're all gone. I look forward to the next time.
So do I. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to
Well,
wish
good.
a very happy new year to everyone in the panel and to the SATV the staff and the entire viewers. I think that this year, 2025, will bring a lot of health and a lot of good things for the people of Salem,
I
especially.
hope so.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so we're going to be a bunch of different topics. We'll be talking about the 250th anniversary of Leslie's Retreat, making the city more livable, crowd security measures after what happened down in New Orleans, and we have our own sort of Mardi Gras type thing. Things like that. So, but first off, if you notice when I do the introduction, former this, former that, except for Tom. You're currently still active in city politics.
Love it.
Okay. And so that's why I tossed this to you. You were telling me when I came in that Big Fred's has been sold, and that Marriott, Big Fred and the property around it had been sold, and Marriott is going to put another hotel in there, and it's going to be, which is obviously right near the Hampton Inn, and and they're going to be working somewhat together. Any idea? Do we have a timeline or anything?
I'm
on
very
that?
excited to be on the planning board because that's the epicenter of things going on. There's so much work, so many things going on in Salem. It's almost like a boomtown. It's amazing. And this economy, we're doing very well, the city of Salem. To think that we have a Hampton Inn, a big Hampton Inn on the old Riley Plaza, your relative, Riley Plaza, so lo and behold, pleasure Teasie to give you recognition. That's a great name, Riley Plaza, to a distinguished member of your family. And Riley Plaza has been the epicenter of downtown Salem for many, many years. And now we have a Hampton Inn there, a modern Hampton Inn that took years to do, and a lot of work behind the scenes by the previous administration. And now we have the opportunity coming in. An institution in Salem for Salem State College graduates was Big Fred's restaurant, roast beef. Now Sammy's roast beef, a big family, a nice family. And Sammy's roast beef is related to the Maria's restaurant on Jefferson Avenue.
Okay.
It's a great family, and that's been sold out by the Marriott hotel chain. They're taking over, and it's in the planning stage now. I'm on the planning board, and as you all know, sometimes it's like taking a left-hand turn on the Titanic to get things done in Salem. Very slow process.
Yeah.
But they're going through the process now. Marriott Hotel, which is a reputable chain, and they're working with Hampton Inn in partnership with Hampton Inn that made it all possible. So now we're going to be an epicenter, I guess, of tourism in the North Shore. Instead of tourists staying on Route 1 and some of the hotels on Route 1, which many of them do coming into Salem, it's limited bed and breakfasts, the Hotel Hawthorne, the Rocket Hotel, and now the Hampton Inn.
Salem Hotel.
Pardon?
Salem Hotel.
Salem
Well,
Hotel.
that's just, isn't that the Salem?
My-
Oh, right,
my-
the Salem Hotel, right.
my
Yeah.
question-
Hotel.
We don't
Right,
know
yeah,
why
yeah.
not.
My question to you, Tom, they already discussed the design that it's going to put on because basically I think a lot of people do not agree on the model of the Hampton Inn building. I mean, the hotel itself is very good. I think that Salem needed because we had a lot of visitors. But we have to keep in mind that the shape and the look of the city need to maintain certain way. So continue to be the city that we, as a resident, kind of envision a historic Salem that welcoming the family manner. So the designs on any new building need to be taking place to make sure that comply with
Very
what
good,
the
very
people of Salem really looking for.
I totally agree. It's got to be in the context of Salem's history, the McIntyre.
Otherwise,
yeah.
we're going to lose our most important asset. The people who are coming only for the history of Salem, not for anything else, really.
Completely agree, yeah.
And so you have a very valid point.
I assure you, I think it's going up to the Historical Commission, Design and Review Board, the Planning Board. So it will go under the microscope for, I think, will take a couple of years till we actually see it. Occupants take place at the Marriott Hotel, the Big Fred's Restaurant, Institution in Salem, Sammy's Roast Beef.
But but the current Hampton Inn doesn't really fit the character of the city.
Doesn't.
No, it
I
doesn't.
mean, how did that get by?
It looks, Hampton Inn looks like a prison.
Right.
And the other thing is, Salem has almost been blighted with big box syndrome because that's what the buildings look like.
Yeah.
And I mean, Marriott usually puts up a pretty good building, but are they going to, if they're working in tandem, so to speak, with Hampton there? Hampton has, the townhouses look something like that they should be accepted in Salem, but the rest of it, no, big prison. And the other thing is, Sammy's Roast Beef, Big Fred's, that piece of land is gone. But is it going to extend out to the Freedom telephone
Not Verizon. It won't touch Verizon.
and the Ice House? And is the whole thing going?
Not Verizon. On the corner of Riley Plaza, there's the pizza
Verizon
place right across
retail
the street.
store. Yeah.
There's a pizza place, and that pizza place is staying, and Verizon is staying. So what's after Verizon is Sammy's Roast Beef, and maybe that the homeless shelter that's taking place, the recycling center for the homeless shelter.
The old Ted's for Tires.
Yes, the old Ted's Tire.
Yes,
That's
right.
right. Good memory.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
memory.
but the homeless, you're saying the shelter. Now, the shelter said, in the planning stages, that they were not any longer going to move the thrift shop. But will they be forced to move?
I think the shelter will be moved. That was a temporary Band-Aid solution to put them in there. But I think the shop itself will hopefully stay. That's a necessary part of the complex.
Okay, so Marriott's going to build a new building, and they're going to have the Life Bridge.
How much of life bridge is a good question? Not the people living there
Right,
temporarily.
right, yeah,
That's
yeah.
only a Band-Aid, a temporary. That was meant to be a temporary
Right.
Band-Aid. So is the shelter we talk about right next to Steve's Market? That's got to be the major shelter facility.
Right, yeah. No, I'm just, in other words, I'm thinking the Life Bridge thrift store or
Yeah, that's the one, Mike.
Exactly.
Yes.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, because it seems like the footprint of Sammy's Roast Beef. I mean, I was known as Big Fred's for years. Sammy's Roast Beef, and then the ice place, Brito's Ice.
That's
thing there.
exactly.
And that doesn't seem like a big enough footprint to put. So
No,
I
it
just
doesn't.
assumed they were going right down to the corner.
And certainly no parking.
Yeah,
I believe this is separate two buildings. I think.
Well, it is two
it's
separate buildings,
split
but
up, divide both of the two.
But it's
properties.
just like, I mean, it seems like it's too small a footprint to
Well, if you-
warrant
if you-
building on.
If you take
Where
a
there's a
look,
will,
the
there's a way.
property is
Yeah.
It'll be done.
around the corner too. Is make like the whole block.
Oh, so they're taking around
Yeah,
the
when you
Verizon
see-
that
when you
way,
see the
or
ice-
back up
They won't
to,
take Verizon. No.
right, they're not taking Verizon, but
No.
they're taking up on
Yes.
Mill
Mill
Road
Hill.
as well,
Yeah.
on Washington Street.
Mill Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, so that, they're taking that as well.
That's
Okay.
very challenging. As it
Yeah.
was for the Hampton Inn, it was very challenging. Hampton Inn, the complex underneath Hampton Inn was Civil War pipes. So the former administration, Mayor Kim Driscoll, had to go to Governor Baker to get $2 million of infrastructure money, state grants, to bring in infrastructure for the piping for the Hampton Inn that's there now.
Yeah.
So that's a very challenging site. So
Yeah.
Marriott will have to do their homework.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but the Hampton Inn, isn't there a lot of spaces in there that are not used all the time? Is that in working with Hampton, the Marriott, are they going to maybe see if they can't have some of their spaces?
Yeah, I think they'll share. That's why I think in the early stages we see that partnership between the Hampton and the Marriott, so they don't overlap and duplicate. They'll have more residential that will fit the Marriott there. I stayed at Marriott. There's a Marriott hotel down in New Bedford. When I go down to New Bedford,
Well,
I go
remember,
there.
there's 17 spaces in there that belongs to the city of Salem, too.
And it's used. They're used. They're used. There's signage there to get in and get out at the Hampton Inn.
Yeah, but they didn't mark them. I asked them, where do you park if you're from Salem? You have to look for them.
Yes.
They're not marked, though.
Okay.
So we live in exciting times in Salem.
Yeah.
I think it's an exciting opportunity to have a Marriott, a quality name, Hampton Inn, the Hotel Hawthorne, the Salem Inn,
Yeah.
number of bed and breakfasts we have. That's an indication that we have
Salem
reliability in the
Hotel.
future.
Salem Hotel, which
The
is
Salem
different from the
Hotel.
Salem Inn.
Yep.
Right, the Salem
Great.
Hotel. And what's the other one? The Merchant Hotel.
Merchant.
Right,
And
yeah.
then there's,
The Salem Hotel is located downtown, sort of across from the CVS
owned by the
on
Shades.
Essex Street.
And the
But
one
I
behind
don't
the
think
Dunkin'
that,
Donuts.
Right, and the one next to the Dunkin' Donuts as well, the Merchant. Yeah.
I don't think, I don't think any of this will touch the Hawthorne Hotel.
No.
The Hawthorne Hotel has an historic aura to it.
Yeah.
And it's
It is a
beautiful.
historic site.
The owner, Mike Harrington, has done a marvelous
Yeah.
job at the hotel.
Right, because that was, when he bought it, it was sort of a residential thing mostly for
Right,
seniors.
Absolutely.
Sort of like almost like a rooming house in a
Right.
way. And he brought it back to a hotel. Because that was built back in the 20s, I believe.
20s.
Well, didn't they just have their anniversary?
Oh, the 100th anniversary?
Yeah.
That would have been around that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mike's bought a couple houses around the Hotel Hawthorne complex to have weddings and families, events
Yeah.
like that. So he's a big asset.
Yeah.
I've been all around the world, China, Japan, and all around the country, and that's my favorite place to stay.
Yeah.
And eat. The Hotel Hawthorne has an atmosphere of its own.
Yeah.
Mike Hamilton has made it. He's
Yeah.
had the Midas touch over the years. And his family, I think his son owns the hotel in Lexington and the one in Sturbridge Village. The family owns Sturbridge
Okay.
Village.
No, right. I
Lexington,
remember
too.
when they bought that, because right, and when they
Midas
bought
touch. I
think it's signed-
the public
signed
house
right.
in
Yes.
Sturbridge.
Yeah, the Hawthorne Hotel makes you feel special when you're there. The
All
way
year
you,
round.
Yeah.
All year
And
round.
it reminds me of the days when we even had General Glover over there, which was a special place
Yeah,
to
it
go.
was a special place.
Right.
Yeah.
I have lunch with some people, some classmates from BC once a month at the hotel. And it's a great spot. It really is.
Yeah.
Food is good too.
Okay.
Ambiance.
Ambience,
Very good.
much so.
Okay, Jim, you touched upon something when you were talking about the design of this hotel. In the terms of the history. History is made in Salem. I mean, we sort of, people forget how instrumental we were in the founding of this country.
Absolutely.
The first 3 millionaires in this country were from Salem.
Derby was
2
the
derbies
first.
and a Crowan Shield. Is that the way it's pronounced, Crowan
Yes.
Shield? Yeah, okay.
The first
And
military training ground was
yeah.
the Common.
right, and Leslie's Retreat, the restaurant on that was closed for a while, and I guess it's reopened. It's called something different, I think, but Leslie's something.
I
or
think,
Leslie's
no, I think it's the retreat.
still called Retreat.
No, yeah, the retreat.
Okay. Anyways, that was named after an incident that happened before the shot heard around the world, where
Before Concord and,
where
the
the British officer by the name of Leslie came down and looking for weapons or something that weren't
Cannon.
here. They were in
Cannon
Concord.
was supposed to. Cannons were supposed to be
Cannons, right,
in Northfield, which is North Salem.
right. And they ended up retreating, and that's why it was
They
called
stopped
Leslie's
them right
Retreat.
at the North River there.
Yeah. Okay.
One and drew blood. One person was stabbed
Ah.
by a British soldier.
Okay.
In February, I think we're going to have a recreation of Leslie's Retreat. That's the anniversary.
Right.
And next month will be
They-
reenactment.
Now,
retreat celebration.
Dr. Jane Arlander, she is part of that group, and they have the Mark One, right? Every year, don't they celebrate it?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never gone to it. I
This
don't
will
know
be a
if
big year
anyone
for-
has.
big year.
Yeah, 250th anniversary. That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
it a big year. That's
They did a big one probably for the 200th.
yeah.
I think it was the 200th. Around.
Well, it makes sense they would have.
Yeah.
But that was 50 years ago. So.
Yeah, it was 50 years ago. You're right.
Yeah.
Concord Lexington is doing their big anniversary too this year, the
Yeah.
reenactment of the
Yeah.
Lexington Concord battle.
Okay.
So Salem's in this doing the homework now for their anniversary too.
Yeah.
Their 400th.
Isn't it funny that was one of the first battles back then, and now we still have the battle of traffic going on.
Yeah, and that segue into my next section. Mayor Pangalo, in his State of the City address, said he had a goal of making Salem more livable and more affordable. And first, a couple of things that came to mind is it's too much traffic to be, and we keep getting more traffic to be more livable, and more affordable. I was it made me think of what they're talking about passing in Beverly, where and Salem has sort of talked about it as well to an extent, where they're requiring all these no gas, electric, with all these different things and all that. It's just going to increase the cost of housing. I mean, and again, this is in Beverly, but it's something that it seems like we've been talking about in Salem as well, as making everything more energy efficient, and that adds cost to.
You can say something like that, but there's got to be a plan behind it. And I don't know what the plan is to make it more livable. I don't know what the plan is to make it more affordable.
Well, tonight, 7 o'clock, our governor is going to be on talking about the things we're talking about right here. And how she is going to make transportation and housing and everything. And she's going to take money for the transportation and and make traveling a better way by taking billions of dollars, billions, without raising taxes, by going to the millionaire tax.
Right,
so
right.
tonight at 7 o'clock, you tune in, and maybe she'll answer all our questions.
Okay, but
hopefully.
that's all well and good. But this show is being taped on Wednesday, January 15th on Derby Street at SATV headquarters.
The anniversary of my father's birth.
Ah, okay.
Today?
Okay.
Wow, happy birthday to
And the show doesn't air until Friday.
That's Friday,
So
yeah.
by that time, the speech will be over. So
An example that the mayor gave in his address at City Hall and the City Council and the reorganization of the City Council was Dr. Laurie Stewart is very involved in the housing crisis in Salem. And she gave an example to Mayor Pangalo that there was a lifelong resident of Salem that could not afford to live in Salem anymore, and they had to move to Lynn.
Yeah.
And she said that Laurie Stewart's been handling 700 different people trying to get housing in Salem. It's a critical crisis of with a human face, and that's what I think the mayor brought compassion in his address, real compassion, saying it has a human face. And he brought up that one example: a lifelong resident of Salem could not afford to live in Salem.
And
They
you know,
moved to
one of
Lynn.
the reasons why?
And that's a tragedy. They couldn't find it.
One of the reasons why we have not built public housing for such a long time, I can't think of the last time.
right, and the thing is, much of the rental housing, 2 and 3 family
Condos
houses
crazy.
have been converted to condos.
Condo craze. Condo craze.
And so that has, just decreased the stock of rentable apartments.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I can understand that. That's the case. But it's it's the the policies.
And I also want to add into that, because everything that you're saying is correct. But I think the vision of the city for many years has been concentrating more on the visitors, and the local, who are the one that's suffering throughout the year, having seen little action into issues that really bother the quality of life in Salem. And that's why we need to refocus and change some of the policies that help alleviate the situation of the local people. When I was in the council, which I had the privilege and honor to serve with Tom, I was a very strong voice advocating for the necessity that we have for the most needed one. When they talk about ADU, they were thinking on the developers, not thinking on the people who want to need it. They were thinking on the visitors, not in the people that are living here. So we need to have our leaders to put the attention into the local issue, the issue that bother the day-to-day operation of the city of Salem, that going to make it livable for the most needed one.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
city
ADU,
council,
excuse me,
right here.
TC, excuse me.
Oh,
one moment.
sorry.
ADU, which you just mentioned, just for those at home, stands for accessory dwelling unit, and what that was, there was a relaxation of what that what was allowed in Salem, where a single-family house in a single-family zoned area could add on was it up to 800 square feet or 600? 800 square feet, and actually could be freestanding, right? On their
Freestanding,
lot.
separate building.
Yeah, separate building onto the lot, basically turning their a zoned one-family neighborhood into a two-family neighborhood, basically. If everyone partook of that.
Poor guy that bought a house in the one-family zone got all of a sudden pushed back to a two-family.
Yeah.
know?
And you were saying, because I
Oh, I was
interrupted.
going to say that, mentioning the city council, and they should be working together. If we're going to get any place in this city, we have to work together on all issues. And if electing a new council president for 2025 is any example of what this council did at that meeting, that a lot of people out there probably don't know how a council president comes about.
It's actually a issue that really is very close to me. As many people know,
And
I was,
Tom as well.
and
Tom was passed over many times.
I was caught in line 3 times in a row with arguments that didn't make any sense, in which I think, for some reason, do not reflect who we are in Salem. In Salem, we are more than that. We are united. We are people who understand that everybody had the right to do things. Talk about history, the history of Salem, which I'm very proud to say I was the first Latino to be elected in city council citywide, and I'm never going to forget that. That's part of history, and that made me believe that Salem is better than what I saw when they did what they did to me, which is many things that I haven't revealed, and I'm going to keep it to myself. But I'm actually saying that that's an example of something that we need to focus. This is local. This is our daily basis. I think we need to have a city council body united, working for the people, by the people, not working for any idea individually, but in common, with everybody focusing on delivering for the people that elected them.
For
But what
years-
happened here was the city council president now, is Pranzuski is but the pattern of doing it. Don't you go out and see how many votes you have?
Absolutely.
They have.
But it's a tradition. It is more than
It was a
that.
tradition of the oldest serving councilor became the council president. You don't really, in the old days, didn't have to go out and count votes. If you were the oldest sitting councilor
Who had not served.
who had not served, that's
Right.
correct.
Yeah, who had not served.
But you became the council president.
Yeah.
When we threw that out, I think it was around your
with Tom as
tenancy
well.
and Tom's tenancy.
And I remember that
That
Art
was a big
Sargent,
mistake.
Art Sargent, who was not council president when his turn came up and everything, he actually turned it down in
He
effect
turned it down.
because he was busy enough in work and
Right.
everything. And when he became council president was when he no longer worked for. There was a year that he was in fact out of work.
Right.
And
That's
for the
correct.
closing of the power station.
Right.
And so at that point in time, he ended up taking on the extra duty of being
Council
the
president.
council president.
I nominated him for council president at that opportunity, and I think Domingo, you would have been an outstanding council president. Very effective.
One thing I know, and I keep saying, my proud time is to say that I like to have common sense, and I like to make people to understand that we're all equal, and that's basically was my vision to be the president, just to move the meeting in a way that everybody had the same amount of time, the same care, the same attention that we need to have, so we can do the work for the people, because that was our main reason to be in city council, is to do the work for the people that elect you over there, to represent the entire city of Salem and to make sure that we move forward.
Some of the-
The only way we can do that
But
is by
did-
united.
Did anybody see the council meeting when they were selecting the new council president for 2025?
I did not.
And the whole thing was that they always, and even if they don't have all the votes, they ask to make it unanimous. This city council would not make it
Really?
unanimous.
That
That's a
was a
disappointment.
big mistake.
Would not. Shame on
What was the
them.
final vote?
I think that was 7-4. I think.
Wow,
Right on. I mean, this was out there. They thought everything was all set when they went in, but it wasn't. And one of the
That's interesting.
people elected another one to be and put her up. And I'm just saying, it.
Who were the four? Who were the four?
If I'm not mistaken, I think Marcelo, Stott, Merkel, and Davis.
Yes.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yep.
That's the one I.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. See,
And
and
I agree
I
with the
said.
institution, but in the long run, I really believe Councilor Conrad Pozuski, the new council president, will do an outstanding background with his legal background, his police background, his compassion for the city of Salem. He's a walking talk. He loves Salem. Everybody knows him as Conrad, his first name, and I think he'll do an outstanding job. But
Yes.
it showed division in the city council that I haven't seen in years. That it's a disappointment that it wasn't a unanimous vote situation.
Right.
We made it unanimous over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every council before this, I'm shocked at that. I didn't know.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that either. I didn't know. I didn't see anything in the paper about this.
You don't, do you? No.
No, I just
No,
it
that's
just
the
dawned
only
on
way
me.
I would know.
Well,
really.
who's
Yeah.
the reporter now? Since we lost, and he's gone to work for Salem State. We don't seem to have. I don't get the Salem news, so I don't know who the reporters are.
Yeah, I don't know who the Salem
Mike
reporter is.
McHugh. Mike McHugh is handling the
Okay.
city of Salem and the city council.
Okay.
Mike McHugh.
But you know, right here, Domingo, he stood for the people. He was elected by the people, and that's what you're supposed to do. But this council, we have so many individuals that they stand up there, right? And it's almost like, me Tarzan, right?
I tried twice myself. Domingo and I share a common bond here. I tried twice to
Both
become council
times
president.
I heard awful reasons why, too. Awful reasons.
Right, it's not, when someone is council president, they have one vote on the council president.
Right.
And the only thing that they have, besides getting $2,000 extra a year?
Yeah.
For a little extra work, they get to choose the committees. But so many people are on so many committees, and you go to other committee meetings, it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's not
It's really
like,
an honorific.
yeah, it's more of an honorific title rather than an actual,
I disagree on that one. I think the council president has the power to appoint the most important committee going, administration and finance.
Okay.
And that handles the budget. And then ordinances, licensing, and legal affairs, which are tandem, two powerful committees.
Right, yeah.
So I think he picks them, the chairperson, and that sets the tone, the climate for the city
Okay.
itself. So,
It just if it's out of step with what the council wants, it gets voted out. Like in other words, if there was I was the head of a committee on the school committee, and I was told by my two school committee members, we're not going to show up for a meeting because I had something in the meeting having to do with food service. And my two committee members said to me, we're not showing up, in which case nothing gets done because there's no quorum. So there was nothing I could do. So for a whole year, I was the head of one of the committees, and I was basically told, that we're not going to do anything.
and Domingo was never chosen as
I was a
chairman
finance
of the
committee when I was on school committee.
administration and finance.
And two of the other members of the committee that, I was appointed by Stan Yusevich, and the two members appointed, and they knew what my agenda was,
Yeah.
and
I didn't know that either, Mike. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and they said to me, and I said, I want to get a meeting together for this. They said, we're not showing up.
Has our city clerk, she hasn't had her reappointment, has she?
That's coming up in February.
Yeah.
February, what I'm just saying,
February.
it's many months that they have held her. I mean, the treatment that they gave her.
Overdue, or what is the term?
I think
What
it's
is their
every
term?
4 years.
Huh?
4 years, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so is it
it's
a
been
long time past 4
Yeah, I
years?
think so.
It is?
Yeah, remember
Yep.
that in Driscoll, I think that she went through her first 2 years after she went through.
Yeah.
Goes back to Driscoll?
We had administration, do you remember, all of you? that the reappointment was not given, and people, even our building inspector went through it at different ones. They
Yeah.
did not get the reappointment.
Yeah.
They were always walking on eggshells.
Tom, I credited Tom with making sure that the city clerk got the full-time job.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah,
It was a
that
battle.
was-
It was a battle.
that was Tom's. I put that right in on Tom, because what Tom did, he got it done, because he was considered a supporter of the mayor, and there were, a split vote on Eileen, who was the assistant city clerk, being promoted to the
City
head
clerk.
city clerk.
Yeah.
And without Tom, I don't think that would have happened. So
And without Councilor Lovely, I asked Councilor Lovely,
Yeah.
Steve Lovely, I think we all know Steve, about the legality of increasing the salary of the city clerk. She's an outstanding city clerk.
yeah,
Really, it's called room number 1 after
Yeah.
Debbie Birkinshaw.
Right.
yeah,
She's the number 1 leader in that
Now-
building. She's the
ter-
go-to person.
In terms of the compensation, is it only the council that
Only the
votes
council.
on it?
It's in the
That's-
charter, it's in the
Right.
ordinances.
Well,
I
it's
fought
gonna-
hard for that.
Yeah, I absolutely remember you bringing it up, and I'm sure that it is in the charter. And I don't understand how you can fight that. Any mayor
The
cannot
city
fight.
council shall set the salary of the city clerk.
I agree.
And I got the partnership with Steve Lovely.
Right.
You backed me up at that time. So we're very lucky to have Eileen Simon. She's
Yeah.
dynamite, absolutely the best.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was a number of years back now with our city council that before the council chamber, that belongs to the city council. If you note, there's no portrait, is there, of any mayor in the city chamber. It's outside.
Correct.
That because the chamber belongs. How many people here were city councilors? Yeah,
Yeah, it's 3 of them.
yeah, definitely.
She's in charge of almost the entire city hall, the documents, the
You hire the city clerk. The
Yeah.
city clerk works for you.
yes.
And before, it was the council used to gather down in her rooms and do this and do that. She did everything in the world. I used to watch it when I was going to all the meetings all the time. And Cheryl LaPointe, I mean, she was their best friend. She stood up for them. She represented them beautifully. And then suddenly, what happened? Don't ask me. I don't know. I wasn't there. But they stopped gathering in her room, and they
There's a
started
battle
moving to
between
the
the
mayor's
mayor
office.
and her. That's what
I think
happened.
that happened when,
Yep.
when the leaders are trying not to understand that check and balance is important no matter what, if benefit or not you. And when that happens, when you lose that touch as a leader, you actually convert everything in a mess. And I think that's what happened before in history. I don't know what happened before that, but I know that the reason why the city clerk was treated the way it was and was not really have the respect that need to be for that department is because the line was broke on that line of check and balance, where we need to understand that city council are the check for whoever is the leader over there, and that's going to make the balance. And there is the only office that is work with the city council is the city clerk, and that need to be let alone to try to do the work on the check and balance so we can perform and be a functional government in a way that every citizen town has, in a way that the United States has. That's why it makes the democracy of the United States one of the biggest in the world, because understand that check and balance need to be respect, need to be if the leader had the vision right, what they do, they try to make that line clear enough and strong enough in each of the parts so the democracy can grow strongly and the people, whoever is represented by that government, being served the way it's supposed to be. Yeah.
But the other thing is right now, it used to be in the chamber, if the council was going to address the council and the people at home, they stood every single time. They've taken and done away with that, haven't they? To me, that's a lack of respect. It's like walking into when the judge comes into the courtroom, everyone stands up. Mm-hmm. Well, there are different things that represent history.
Yeah, they did during the meeting, but during the main city council meeting, they did not during committee meetings.
Right. No, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
No,
so
that's
just during
different.
yeah, so not, but yeah, they did stand up. Okay. I'd like to move on. The thing that happened in New Orleans on New Year's Eve or
God.
New Year's morning, terrible thing.
Tragic.
Prayers go out to all those affected and all those in the area. Have caused Salem to think about what we have here, because we have a similar type of crowd. All right, who knows similar, but a major crowd during the month of October, particularly on
We
Halloween
could
Day.
be easy target.
Yeah.
An easy target, absolutely. We put up a little, some barriers which are going to, basically to redirect traffic, and it just tells people they're not supposed to go there. But it's not going to stop anyone from going there if
Well,
someone decided to go down.
Why people say we talked about that. They had parked big trucks around and blocked the entrance to the mall, and they also set up the cement.
Right, those things there, yeah.
But I'm saying they grabbed a hold of that after that terrible tragedy, and I couldn't understand why they were doing it and saying about Salem. Why do they talk and put ideas in people's heads
Well,
that they say?
you have to. I mean, someone's going to think of it. Yeah, I mean, you need to.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for
Right.
an easy target, it's very easy to determine that
Yeah.
Salem's an easy target. Now,
Well, I think a lot of our politicians, it's almost like they say the ambulance chasers.
Yeah.
They grab publicity any way they can get it.
the idea that the current mayor has to install, what do they call, what do they call?
Cement.
Huh?
The
Yeah, what do they call it?
Bullocks.
Bullets.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's bullets.
Yes.
I think it's a necessity now, not only on the street, but also on the sidewalk.
Right, because this vehicle went up on the sidewalk because the street was blocked.
That's where the guy killed 15 people on the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah,
So I agree wholeheartedly that he's
Yeah.
exploring the cost and
Yeah.
these would be they go up and down.
Okay,
So it does not spoil the character
Right,
of the street or the city. But when you have the crowd, they're up, and you can't drive through them.
okay.
The day after Halloween, Police Chief Miller and the mayor and the cabinet meet at the police station and talk about what went wrong, what went right for the
Yeah.
previous Halloween. And they meet periodically, and they'll be
Yeah.
talking about this
Yeah.
for the October one for 2025. And they'll do their due diligence.
I think you'll see these in place by that time.
Yes, they'll do their homework.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you, Jim. State legislature has okayed the school bus camera bill.
I think it's a great idea. Finally, absolutely. We tried it before. We tried to get it on before, and
Yeah.
it didn't work. But I think it's a great idea. There's too much danger in a school bus unloading and crazy driving around that
Yeah.
bus. And there's no need to pass a school bus. No need at all. We're going to save 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 1 minute. There's a lot of precious lives in a school bus. The other thing I always wanted is seatbelts, on school buses, and that hasn't happened yet. But the camera is going to work. Peabody tried it. And was very successful. I don't know how many they caught, but they caught several.
Oh yeah, there was a very significant number of people that they viewed going through, and Salem had it and put some on there as well.
Yeah.
And they caught a bunch of
right.
people driving around the school bus. Okay.
If it saves one life, it would be worth it.
Oh,
So
yeah,
all the money
absolutely.
invested in the cameras, even one accident.
Yeah.
It's very important, very critical.
Okay, getting back to Lightbridge, we talked about the Lightbridge, facility, possibly going, whether we were sort of questioning whether it would go or whatever in terms of the Marriott Hotel coming in. But they, one of the things that did happen is they were given $213,000 $213,500 to add 12 beds to, I'm not sure where. It probably was. It might have been to that temporary shelter on
I think it was.
on Canal Street.
I think it was.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of money. It's $20,000 a bed for a dorm room. I mean, not even a dorm room. I mean,
Yeah, but you got to talk about personnel, and you just don't open it up and say, here. You got to have security. You got to have somebody that will maintain the place. It's just.
is it okay? As I say, it just seemed a little
I
expensive.
mean, I know it's high, but
for
you
12 beds,
Yeah.
But
The police department need to be given a lot of credit, Chief Miller and his police department. I think they've had a wonderful relationship with the homeless shelter, which is very challenging for any police officer.
Yeah.
Trained, and they want the best for Salem. And homeless is a very challenging population.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to have Chief Miller in the police department.
I think it is time because you go back to that cost. You have to check who's in there and why. The example of that is in Revere, in one of the hotel
Right, yeah.
shelters,
right.
a guy had automatic, almost machine guns, loaded $1 million worth of product, dope,
Right, yeah.
fentanyl, and you gotta have that security. If you don't, that's what happens. The governor was shocked that something like this was happening.
But there's absolutely
and
no
so
room.
was,
There's
and
no
so
room.
was the captain shocked in Casablanca that there was gambling going on in Rick's Casino and
Right.
Rick's Bar,
Right.
whatever there was.
Right.
Yeah.
But Mike,
the governor was
you
shocked.
talk about the thrift shop. There's no room to put the thrift shop in what they have already designed. You've seen it, Tom.
Yes.
And that's why they said that they were not going to move the thrift shop from Canal Street.
Yeah.
And
but
now,
we don't know if the Marriott is taking it over. My thought process is that they must be because they need
too small.
it's too small a footprint
right.
for them to go through the trouble of building. I mean, it's not like they're, in other words, they're not going to build 20, rooms. I mean, they're going to build a substantial building. They need
200,
parking.
sure.
If they're going to bother building, they're going to, put in 100 rooms, 150 rooms, something like that. So it's
Be interested to see what they do.
yeah, it is. I mean, in other words, it's an ongoing thing. But it's just, as a businessman, I just looked and said, I just don't see the footprint being big enough for them to want to do it. And therefore, they must be taking that. But again, they're going around the Verizon thing the other way, and so it might not be. So I just don't know. But
It's a work in progress.
yeah,
I
okay.
agree. The thrift shop probably won't be there.
Yeah,
I
okay.
agree.
Have they said how many stories?
Not yet. It's still initial stages.
Yeah.
Hampton Inn took years to do. Hampton Inn.
Yeah. Okay. Vineyard Offshore is cutting back on their windmills. I guess a couple of, like Rhode Island or Connecticut, or both of them, canceled their contracts with them, and so they're going to cut back. I don't know if this affects what's happening on in Salem with our, assembly setup, but it is something to look forward.
There's going to be less windmills to assemble, so therefore it's going
Right,
to
yeah.
affect us. There's no
Right.
doubt
Well,
about
again,
it.
yeah. I mean, but in other words, it might not be a company that would be using the Salem
Right,
facility for
right.
it. But so anyway, so that's something to look.
Well, that'd be a brand new economic engine if it does go through, and that's, hopefully will go through for the city of Salem, because I think it will provide 250 plus jobs, good jobs, maybe
Yeah.
union jobs. I think Salem High School is going to be a part of that process to learn the
They were
innovations.
developing a program that would train some of the people at the high school for jobs at the location.
Yeah,
That's
it
a great
just,
partnership.
again, as I've stated many times, I just don't see. The technology is not there. Actually, wind power just cannot provide enough electricity, and therefore you need to have backup, which is a power plant, and you need to have a backup of a power plant that would be the same would be the same as if it was the primary one. So I just don't see the point of all these things that they're building. And one of the things that comes into play, and I think this is in, I think it's in Beverly, they're talking about, but it's somewhere in the north of here, I've forgotten where, they're talking about putting in a solar farm. And it's a 128-acre site, and they're going to cut down 2,470 trees to be put up solar panels. Solar panels.
Solar panels. In
And
Salem, you can't build a solar farm. I had a client who wanted to build a solar farm in Salem. Zoning does not allow in any zone a solar farm.
okay, but they can get around that. They've gotten around not having the zoning for
Well,
many times. This was definitely not
This
in Salem.
client would not pay that kind of money to spend 2 years, 3 years
Yeah.
of
Right.
changing an ordinance.
Right.
But all new homes that are being built,
Actually, excuse me one moment. Let me just finish up here. So the thing is, this 25 acres of this 128-acre site with a 2,500, almost 2,500 trees removed, is going to power just under 13. It would be producing the power for just under 1,300 homes.
Right.
So now, if you do the math for X number of homes in this country, we would need to take over Canada to build those solar
You would
panels.
have to do what the English did to Ireland.
Right. Yeah.
They stripped the entire island of every tree that was there in
Right.
Ireland.
Right. Because they wanted the lumber.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, you'd have to basically, pave over the United States just to put in this thing. Yeah.
Solar panels, solar energy has gone way back to Jimmy Carter's administration.
I know there was one in
Passed
Beverly.
away. In Beverly High School got solar panels way back when.
Yeah.
And it just went on
Dr.
and on.
Coleman,
Dr. Coleman.
MIT, yes.
He was on the school committee.
Great man, yeah.
Good man. Great man.
Okay.
President-elect says that windmills are driving the whales crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
But new homes being built, I was saying to Mike,
Yeah.
new homes being built now, the only thing they're being offered is heat pumps and electric. No gas, no oil,
Yeah.
no propane, none. They're taking it away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're taking jobs away from people at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, I mean, if we look at history, we built Salem High School 1975-ish.
76, 75.
Yeah. And it was electric heat because electric power was going to be so cheap.
Yep.
With all this thing, electric power is going to be so cheap. And that never happened. And one of our big bills for the school department was the cost of heating the
Electric heat.
Salem High School.
Electric heat.
Yep.
And eventually it was converted to oil.
Oil.
And but I mean, we were told, the reason why it was done initially was that electricity is going to be so cheap in a couple of years, and that's the thing. Electricity is way more expensive than other forms of energy. And again, as I've said in this show in the past, when you talk about climate change, well, they don't talk about global warming. And climate change has always happened. I talk about the Renaissance. I talk about the mini ice age, why the tribes, the Vikings invaded, or the Huns invaded Rome, and why Rome fell, because there is always climate change. And as certain areas get warmer, other places get colder. And so the thing is this, for the past 25 years, the Earth overall hasn't really been heating up. It's just this area is heated up, and this area was cold. And that's what it's always has done. And then on top of that, if you took and not only got rid of every fossil fuel, but if you got rid of every person and every animal in the United States, so there was nothing but trees here, then you're still talking over, it would make like a difference of 3 0.001 degree of global warming. We are one of the cleanest countries on Earth because we've used natural gas rather than coal. So many countries use coal. And Europe, because of the fact that we have the embargo, they have an embargo against Russian energy, although they are getting some from them.
I think it's all outlawed, though. Isn't it?
I think there's still a certain percentage that goes through Ukraine.
I don't think there's any.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
But because of it, Germany is going back to coal power.
Yeah.
So this thing here is just it just doesn't work. Technically, it does not work. From an engineering standpoint, it's not dense enough energy in both solar and wind power to power a modern economy.
But you got to do something relative to the spots that are affected. And
Yes.
California, for example, is a great example.
But California, if that was caused by mismanagement of woodland areas. They did not do what they used to do in that, clean the brush up, and then they would do controlled burns. When they would see an area that was doing, they would set up a fire break and do a controlled burn so there would be less fuel. And the state of California, over 10 years ago, voted like $2 billion to build 4 or 5 reservoirs, and they refused to do them because they didn't want to caused an environmental impact, even though the residents approved spending the money for it. Now, again, your heart has to go out to all the people down there that are affected.
It looks like Palestine.
I mean,
if you look, it's not as large, but they're very comparable.
Yeah, it looked like like that, and it looks like. Jay Leno said it reminded him of pictures he saw of Hiroshima. And the area.
We have to take this opportunity to send our condolences to the people of California and our prayer. Hopefully, that tragedy, they can recuperate soon, they can rebuild, and most importantly, the life that are in the midst of this situation can be safe. And, things happen sometimes by mistake of the people, mismanagement or whatever, but I think we all know how hard it is to lose a human being.
My point is, though, you got to do those things. You got to do the brush clearing. You got to do the controlled burns, or else you're going to have a problem.
Right.
Same thing, like for example in Louisiana. First of all, New Orleans should not have been built there.
Right.
Second,
but back in the old days, they built wherever they wanted.
That's right. But now you got to do something about stopping further problems in that particular.
And that's what
city.
levees are for.
And that's what levees are
prior
for.
to Katrina, they just stopped their levee building because they weren't having it because they had gone through a stretch of fair weather, and so they just ignored their obligation. They kicked the can down the road, which is so common for any government agency, because why spend money on something boring when I can spend money on something that's going to be exciting. So spending money on maintenance is never a good, never a desirable thing.
Never a hot item.
Yeah.
Well, our infrastructure is so poor in the city of Salem. I'm watching, because there'll come a time, the same as in California, when they said so many of the fire hydrants that they had there was no power, there was nothing.
Yeah.
We have the same problem going on here, but people don't know about it.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, I got a couple quick things I want to hit on. One, the Salem High School and Essex Tech both received grants to increase their CTE, which stands for Career and Technical Education. So that's a good thing, because that's really needed nowadays. I mean, we don't have we have a lot of college-bound people, but the people learning how to do carpentry
you're
and
always
plumbing and
gonna need-
HVAC, and which stands for
You're always going to
heating
need
and
those people.
ventilation and air conditioning. Yeah.
And it should not be ignored by any kid in high school because they are very, very well paid.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give credit to the state delegation who actually worked very hard into that. And I remember when I was running for state rep, that was one of my points, that we need to focus on the trade schools to make sure we had alternative for our kids. And I think I commend Representative Cruz and Senator John Lovely, who actually worked very hard.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to mention is, and I don't know what the final result is, but the CPA, the Community Preservation Act,
Yeah.
went before for to vote on the money that to be divided up, what the grants would be. Do we know where any of that is going to?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. But that's,
You know, the whole thing is that would they have given to some people too many times.
Yeah.
They haven't, diversified enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they also have been put grants to uses that were never contemplated in that act.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little yes.
Yeah.
Peabody has the right idea with their CPA. They've done the right thing with it.
Because Mike Schultz,
Yep.
Mike Schultz was a
Oh, actually,
More
speaking
than-
of we've talked about in the previous show how the MBTA housing thing, where they zoning required in the area of the MBTA, where there was a certain amount of low-income housing or high density housing built, and Milton and other communities were
yeah.
fighting it. Well, they went up through the courts, and Milton and the other communities were waiting to
Natick,
see.
yeah,
Milton
yeah, yeah,
lost,
yeah.
and so
Needham had another vote this week.
okay. And did
there
they
was
vote it
two-
up or
there was-
down?
There was two plans put before the voters, and they turned them both down.
Okay, so they're voting it down, even though maybe it'll get appealed to the Supreme Court. I mean, can it? Can
It can.
you know
Yeah, you can.
it can? In which
Yeah.
case they can say that
Yeah.
that the state
Right.
overreached by doing
Right.
that.
Right.
I think they ruled in that case, the Attorney General didn't have the power
Right.
to enact it. So
Right.
the Miltons,
Milton loses. The
Loses.
residents of Milton who voted it down have lost.
and Salem was one of the first cities to comply.
Right.
And we have housing all the way from the train station up Canal Street to the new St. Quentin's campus there of Salem State. That's all going to be along the train route. A lot of housing. Bertini's,
Yeah.
240 units there.
Yeah.
Along Canal Street, a new hotel, possibly.
Okay,
there.
we've got a couple minutes left. Let me pick your brain here a bit, Tom, if I can. Any further word on the corner of Bridge and Boston?
No word. No word.
Secret.
Yeah.
Secret.
Okay.
Best kept secret in Salem, I think.
Okay.
Domingo and I would all
Yeah.
agree.
That's right, it's been long.
How about the Crescent Lot?
The Crescent Lodge.
Crescent Lot is the lot that's down near the MBTA parking garage. It's referred
Small
to as the Crescent
parking lot down at the garage.
The current parking.
Belongs to the city rather than
Yeah, rather than the MBTA, but it's right next to the MBTA.
And we'll
garage.
see progress now that the courthouses that Wynn will be a part of, the 4 courthouses that have been done from North Street to Washington Street. The one that's in the Civil War, the old library, is going to be redone into a function area, no housing. And the courthouse is going to be about 20 units of housing there. And that got the green light. I think that will get the green light in January this month to go ahead. So you'll see the Crescent Lot go quick with housing. That's all going to be housing.
Right.
Very little commercial there, where the